His greatest mission field is being a coach and being a teacher. I had some female issues with endometriosis and things like that, and so we weren't able to get pregnant again. I remember sitting in the bathtub just in pain and crying and just saying, God, give me peace that I can't have any more children, but let me love those like my own that I coach and teach. And so I feel like at that minute, God met me there. Coaching is not easy. You're on the mission field, you're on the front lines. And with those front lines come attitudes, their home life, parents, pressure to be good, getting the best out of these kids that maybe don't want to work or think that they already are good enough. And it's about mindset. It's about a growth mindset and challenging them to grow. Most of all, it's about unpacking who they are. I can tell you stories of kids coming by the house, sitting on the back porch and having live conversations about how parents are strung out on drugs and alcohol. I've had to call parents about kids taking prescription meds, trying to, commit suicide. I've spoke at a kiddo's funeral, and that'll change you. How do we minister to these kids when we don't even know how we're feeling? To see him again show up in that moment, it was life-changing. That evening, hitting my knees. God, don't let me miss it. Not that you could save everybody, but that really spoke into my coaching. Any teachers or coaches that are listening out there, you're serving, you're loving, you're pouring in, and sometimes you're met with politics, parents. You can certainly question why. Why am I doing this? I can't do this anymore. It's too much. It's too hard. But these kids need you. I can rap.
You can rap?
No, I can't.
Oh, I was going to say, we're starting with a rap.
No.
Immediately, because that's incredible.
I wish I could.
Kristi Mays,
Yes.
welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You are the field of expertise that I'm tapping on you for.
Okay.
Is you are an incredible leader and motivator. I don't know if you know this about yourself, but we might have mentioned this to you in years gone by, but we refer to you as General Mays because you were one of the leading forces, driving forces in our local FCA program that really had a huge impact on the kiddos. And I would watch, you were the driving force. I would watch you in the hallways as they would come by. You would say things to them like, obviously letting them know about FCA is coming, but you would say, believe in yourself. You would say, God loves you. Like, these are things that they're just native to you. They're just,
yeah.
So explain that. Give me a little bit of the background. How did you become General Mays? How did you become the person who can walk into any environment, particularly with young ones, and say, believe in yourself?
So it's really interesting because I'm such an introvert. And so for you to say that I am like a leader and like, just vocally telling kids, it's something with the kids. God just has blessed me with just this ability to tap into, to just love and pour in with kids.
This is so foreign to me because
Totally
when I
introvert.
picture you in my mind, I'm like, you have a megaphone in front of you, because most of the times I've heard you, like you have had to project your voice so that every young one knew that they were valued and that they were loved.
I love kids. Always have. But adults, I'm like, oh, okay, and that was actually one of my goals in these past 6 years, is to really try to pour into adults more too, my colleagues, like I would the kids. And so, it was nothing for me to be like, FCA today, clapping in the hallway, dancing, giving a jig. Hey, you coming? No. Yes, you are. Come on. It was nothing to that. Just felt like God was like, hey, be the shepherd, get them there. And then I'll do the rest. And so that's kind of my mentality, just a kingdom mentality. It's what I want the kids to have, is a kingdom mentality, is to love like Jesus, love others like Jesus, prioritize him, and just know you're valued and chosen and loved. And so at the end of the day, that's what I want the kids to walk away with. And hopefully they do.
What do you do by profession?
By profession, I'm a teacher and a coach, by profession. But, God has really called me into, I say teaching and coaching. I'm on the mission field. His greatest mission field is being a coach and being a teacher. There's, nowhere better or nowhere I'd like to be more than in the classroom, teaching some English that the kids don't like. I know, right? I get that a lot. Ooh. But just the opportunity to pour into them daily and just remind them who they are and whose they are. And just same thing on the court or on the field where I'm coaching. Yes, I'm demanding as a coach. I guess that may be where the general comes in.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's always from a place of love and always from a place of I want to get the best out of you. And that is a 3-dimensional mind, body, and spirit. And so sometimes I think as a coach, you have to step back and you're really coaching the spirit just as much as you're coaching them physically. Because if they don't believe in who they are mentally and they don't believe in whose they are, then, who are they at the end of the day?
So how did you become General Mays? Because I highly doubt you came out prepackaged and ready to go like this.
I don't know. There's just this, maybe a quiet confidence that he's instilled in me. Because at the end of the day, I struggle like all women do. Like, am I enough? Am I enough of a mom? A wife, an employee, a teacher, a coach? Am I doing enough? Am I enough? And so I guess maybe with those type of feelings, I want our young ladies to feel like, in life you are enough as you are. So I don't know where the general came in. It's just maybe just instilling that hardcore love, tough love, I guess. I don't know. But yeah.
Well, so who came along in your life and showed this to you?
Oh, man, I was blessed. I had grandparents that demonstrated the love of Christ, just from the beginning. My uncle always joked that he always had a drug problem. He was drugged to church,
Oh, he's a drug baby.
He's a drug baby, drugged to church. But they just instilled in me in that the love of Christ and forgiveness and hope and prayer and all those things are important. And then my sweet mom was my best friend, and she was in the educational world as well. But she was a para. She was a secretary. But she was...
What is a para?
A paraprofessional.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was... she subbed for a lot of years, and then she was the secretary at the high school for the counseling office. And she impacted so many kids that the class of 1997 voted her to be their keynote speaker for graduation.
Are you serious?
So I had this role model of this woman who just loved without condition. The kids would come to her, flock to her, and just pour out all their life, troubles and woes and celebrations with her. One of her students made the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, and she's calling at 2 a.m. My mom, I made it. That's just who my mom was. And so that example was just, it was impactful in my life. And I'm like, man, and she was always like, well, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a da-da-da. And I'm like, you are so much more than you're giving yourself credit for. So she was one. And then my uncle was a coach. He was like my best friend. And so he coached and taught. And so just that familial example was just amazing for me. So kind of set the bar.
Kind of set the bar.
Yeah.
Is that where you feel like you got your love for both teaching, coaching, and kiddos was?
Yeah, I think so. I was always, when growing up, I'm not, my brothers were 6'4" and 6'2", 6'3". So I'm the runt of the litter, if you
are
say.
Definitely the runt.
I am definitely the runt. So I was always overlooked. And so I had to work. I had to work hard. And I had to prove myself because, new coaches would come in and they'd overlook me. And I'm like, oh, no, you're not, And so, you had to show them.
So you played sports?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I played volleyball, basketball, ran some cross-country workouts, practices, stuff like that. Tried to run track, but I just didn't like it. But yeah, so I had a sports background.
So what was that juncture in school where you go, all right, I'm going to become, or high school, college, whatever. I'm going to become a coach. I'm going to pick up the family legacy and carry it more.
Okay, funny story. My mom's had the paper, and I still have it today. In first grade, teachers ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my response was, I want to be a zookeeper or a teacher. Oh. And so it was like, okay, not too far off because I teach freshmen and they're a little squirrely,
Squirrely. Nice. I see what you did there.
See what I did? So I think that was just something I always wanted. And then when I'm going off to college to Tarleton, my grandmother was always like, oh, you should be a nurse. She had a lot of health issues, so I just naturally took care of her. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll try this nursing thing. But then I think, one semester, and I was like, I just think teaching is where I'm being called. And then I coached youth leagues here at the park all through college and refereed and things like that. So it's just it's what stuck.
So, I mean, no offense to any other coach out there in the entire world. You're all fantastic and very much needed.
Yes.
and I love it when they're involved in young ones' lives. But
Absolutely.
there is a difference between the connection that your students and athletes have with you and the ones that I've seen in some of the other coaches. I can just remember being a young man and the impact that the coaches had on my life. I would have killed for them, kind of a thing. Your athletes have that and more. Love, respect. They have a sense of identity. They know that they're cared for and they're looked after. What are you doing?
Praying over them. Genuine.
Listen, you say that as if that just happens all the time.
Well, I mean, if I'm not, who is? You know?
Yeah.
But genuinely, I care about who they are as people, who they are as young ladies, and even when I was at head cross country at Stephenville with boys and girls, and just coaching the boys was interesting at first. I was like, y'all are weaker than the girls, weak-minded, but I don't know. It's just being real with them. Coaching is not easy at all in any aspects of it. Like I said, you're on the mission field, you're on the front lines. And with those front lines come, with high school kids, sometimes come attitudes, their home life, parents, pressure to be good, getting the best out of these kids that maybe don't want to work or think that they already are good enough. And it's about mindset. It's about a growth mindset and challenging them to grow and not have a fixed mindset. So that's important. But I think most of all, it's about unpacking who they are, and really like digging deep. I can tell you stories of kids coming by the house, sitting on the back porch and having live conversations about how parents are strung out on drugs and alcohol. How I've had to call parents about kids taking prescription meds, trying to, commit suicide. I've spoke at a kiddo's funeral, and that'll change you.
Yeah.
So it's just really like, you got to pray for them. You got to love them like they're your own. And I think kind of what that goes back to is, so Russ and I, my better half, Russ, we coach together.
Say that about each other.
Well, he is. He's the
One
best.
of you is lying. It can't be both of them can't be the better half.
He really is to put up with this girl. He's amazing. But we experienced secondary infertility, and so we had our daughter Kinsey, and then we wanted more. I had some female issues with endometriosis and things like that, and so we weren't able to get pregnant again. And I remember, and I'm going to try not to cry with this, I remember sitting in the bathtub just in pain, and crying and just saying, God, give me peace that I can't have any more children, but let me love those like my own that I coach and teach. And so I feel like at that minute, God met me there. So these kids are my kids. Whether they're just in high school, I've got great relationships with them, some of them, now that they've graduated. Marriages, babies, all the things. Sorry, I don't mean to get emotional. God makes me that way, though. But, so yeah, that's part of the story, I think. That really helps me connect.
It's also part of the podcast that I'm going to be quiet and let it linger when you get emotional moments.
Yeah, sorry.
I love it. Don't apologize. It is actually why I believe these students are opening up to you. It's because you're showing them real, authentic. I think he honored the request.
Yeah.
That you asked him in that bathtub.
And I was so thankful for that, because at that time it was hard. I don't know if you've talked with anyone or maybe experienced yourselves with, infertility, but that whole thing is a whole roller coaster.
You may know a thing or two about it.
Yeah. Wink, wink. So it's hard. So, that, but I'm so glad he met me there. And the mundaneness of a shower of just God let them be my kids. And so here we are 26 years later.
26 years after that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that explains their connectedness to you. It sounds like they can show up at any time. Mm-hmm. You're pouring your very soul into these kiddos as if they were your own. But let me ask you a question, because I want to touch on a piece that is not quite so common. Mm-hmm. You say it as if it's commonplace, that you pray over or you encourage them in the name of Jesus. How are you getting away with that?
I don't know. School? God is protecting me. because the number of times I've prayed over a kid in the hallway, in the cafeteria, is, I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, God is just, I don't know, He's just protected me and blessed me. And I'm okay if they say, hey, you can't do that anymore, saying, then I'm gone.
When did that start?
Which part?
Being bold in your faith with your student athletes.
Probably 2013. I always felt like I was a little bit, I was bold before. Like the kids knew kind of where I stood with my relationship with Christ, because I remember having a young lady, kind of like, she's in a way kind of challenging me. She raised her hand in class. We were talking about something. And she's like, I'm gay and I'm atheist. And I was like, okay, cool. I still love you. It's okay. And then she was like, you didn't judge me. I'm like, well, why would I? I'm here to love you. And then I ended up taking that little girl to church. So, I mean, I've seen that, but 2013, my mom passed away July 1st. For 4 years, I had taken care of her. And if I went back and told all the hours and stuff of how I would, drive after practice to the hospital, stay the night, wake up in Fort Worth, drive to early morning practice, do early morning practice, be at the gym by 5:45. And I did that for years, so it allowed me to kind of grow in a way then, because I had a lot of time to talk to God, and I could see Him moving in my life through all of that. Because it was really hard on my heart. She was my best friend. And anyway, that was hard. But the connections I was starting to make with those kids during that time, because they were pouring into me, because they knew I was tired and I was, all the things. And but in August 5th, 2013, a little girl that I was super close with, loved, she was a hot mess, she took her life. And I was mad. I didn't see it coming. And I was mad because I missed it. Even her mom. So when we went that day, I was actually in Cleburne with my dad, doing some banking stuff to take care of some business for my mom. And people were blowing up my phone, and I pulled over and I answered. And a parent told me what had happened. And then the kids started calling, texting. And this was really before that was really a big issue, of kids, calling you. But they were like, where are you? We need you. Where are you? And we're like, we're on our way. Well, we're an hour out. We'll be there. Meet us at the school parking lot. When we got there, there was probably about 25, 30 kids at the school parking lot waiting on Russ and I to get there. And we just, the whole way there, we're like, God, we need you. We need you today. We need you now. We need to know the words to say. How do we minister to these kids when we don't even know, how we're feeling? Because Russ had coached her as well. And so to see him again show up in that moment, it was life-changing. We went to the parents' house, and I did not want to go in there. So my introverted self, I hung back and I was last. And her sweet mom came up and she just looked at me and she kind of grabbed me and she's like, did you know? And I was like, ma'am, if I would have known, I would have liked to think I could have stopped her. And it was just like that evening hitting my knees. God, don't let me miss it. Not that you could save everybody, but that really spoke into my coaching and just my relationships and connection. Whew, you're going to get a therapy session. But just to see God come in and just help us minister. I remember having some of the kids over and Pastor Ed coming in because her mom had asked myself to speak and Pastor Ed to speak at her funeral. And so we wanted to get some of her close friends together. We just sat down and talked, and they're asking me questions like, is she going to go to heaven? What happens? And thankfully, Pastor Kurt and Pastor Ed and those guys really came alongside and helped those kids. And it was good to see the ministering and how to minister to that. But to see Jesus show up. We had a candlelight vigil where it was like the whole town seemed to come out. But it was, the importance there was Not why, but what. What are we supposed to learn from this? What are we supposed to do? What can we do to help this not happen again? To make you feel loved, seen, and chosen. And here comes FCA. So there we go.
Loved, seen, and chosen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna mark that down in my memory banks. I think that kind of encapsulates what you do with the people that you're called to serve. Loved, seen, and chosen. So in the hard go of it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that you just decided the stakes are too high.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to lose another one, and
Nope.
they're going to hear about Jesus.
No, not today, Satan. You're not getting any more of my kids. Not today. You will not win. You will not beat us. Christ came and he's defeated you guys. I mean, he won.
Yeah.
Jesus won.
I love your shirt. I love your shirt.
And I wear it proudly.
So you become a champion for everyone that you're coaching. All of them. And I don't know where this came about. You're going to have to help me out.
Okay.
But you become the voice for FCA, for transmission and communications.
Yeah.
You become kind of the voice for FCA, and you spearheaded that here in Stephenville. That was a big and bold move, I feel like, on your part. You kind of singled yourself out, and I know this is through no effort of your own, but by being so bold to stand up and proclaim the name of Jesus, you kind of singled yourself out to where you were kind of the face of something. What was that like?
I don't know, because I like to be in the background. I like to get things going and then step back and watch him work. Carrie Norman was our FCA person, and then she went to be the cross timbers rep, and so I just stepped into that role at the high school that she had already kind of laid a foundation. But then, when people, other adults and coaches come to me and ask, how do we get this going? Y'all seem to have it going at Godly and da-da-da-da, and I'm like, just don't take no for an answer, because administrators are scared. And I get it. I understand. But kids can lead, kids can speak, and that's where the revival is. That's where the army is. It's not me. It's just empowering those kids to be bold enough and courageous enough in their walk to step out and lead other kids. And that can be hard, because not everybody knows Jesus. Not everybody sees him like we do, but they see us. And so my hope is that that when they see me, they see Jesus. They see me live out his example. I had a funny story. I was working a camp this summer. It's a TABC camp, and I was kind of over some coaches.
What is a TABC?
TABC, Texas. No, not Texas Alcohol. Okay. Texas Association of Basketball Coaches. Okay. And I was working a camp, and I was over some coaches, and one coach was, she was upset about something, and she's known to use expletives a lot. And she was mad about something. It wasn't really big. But she's like, I just can't cuss around you. And I'm like, okay. I mean, it's funny because, he has that protection sometimes for me. And it was just kind of cute because she just couldn't go there. But I'm like, hear her out. But with FCA, it's when Mr. Matt Underwood was here, and it was just being brave enough to go over and say, hey, can we pray at the football game? Can I have a kid pray? Oh, well, and I'm like, I promise, be a prayer. I'll read over it before, because I guess the fear is giving the kid a mic, and I get it. But he was gracious enough to let that happen. Having prayer chains before the football game, things like that. Doing the huddles at halftime during the football games and stuff like that. Just having the kids lead, just empowering those kids to serve and serve like Jesus. So the kids are really doing it. It's not me. It's Christ. It's Jesus. And he's doing it.
It is indeed. But I would venture to say them watching you model it makes a huge impact. Because I remember we were maybe not the same administration, but maybe one previous, maybe that one. Who knows? We'll just keep it ultra vague.
Yeah.
We were talking about prayer in certain instances, baccalaureate, some of those school activities, those types of things. And they said, you can do it. And they're talking to the pastors, you can do it. But if there's one complaint, one single complaint from a parent or a student or anybody, we're shutting it down. And so there's a couple of times where we're like, has anybody said anything yet? Because, I mean, that person really prayed. They were
Yeah.
talking to Jesus and things happened now.
Fear is real.
I think seeing that somebody had to step up in that atmosphere. If there's one claim, if there's one thing, we're shutting it all completely down because we don't want to deal with it. That kind of administrative, and rightfully so, I get where they're coming from. They don't want to be sued. But to have one candle fire up and go, oh, I'm going for it because this is way too important. I think that strengthened the backs of every kiddo, student. Well, I know they don't like to be called kiddos, but student in that school. And it sounds like you've gone and done it again.
Try to, yeah. I mean, yeah. So sometimes, God, he sees your comfort and your contentedness, and dumps you out of the boat. So for reasons, whatever, we left. We went to Godly. I had been to Godly. They, like when I first started out, it was my first 2 years as a teacher when I was like, young and woohoo, all that good stuff.
Young and woohoo.
Yeah.
My wife knows those days. Young and woohoo. Yeah.
But the head coach was still there. So he heard of our circumstances that were going on here. And he was like, come here. Just come here. He's like, we will appreciate and value you. And I was like, okay. So we left. And
just a marker for anybody watching on who is from Stephenville. Don't need to say it, but we were all gutted.
I was gutted. It was hard. And I didn't understand. And I openly questioned God. Like, why? Why would you take me from there? Why would you take, and this is going to sound kind of bad, but from light to dark. That's what I saw it as. You took me out of this place where we were working things for you, for your good, I felt like. And then you put me over here in this place called Godly, which it's like, okay, Godly, I got it. But it was a little dark. They didn't have FCA. Well, they did. Had just started FCA. Wonderful woman was spearheading that. They had just started that year. And then she was like, can you do a Field to Faith? Do you know how to do that? And I'm like, giddy up, let's go, and haven't looked back since. And it's just been beautiful to see how God is working throughout Godly and ministering in those halls and the things we're able to do there. And so we've even started a Johnson County Field to Faith in the spring that we put on at the Railroaders field. And so we're pulling people from Alvarado, Cleburne, Keene, Godly, even Glenrose comes, Burleson schools. I mean, we had over 1,200 people there in April. And it's just so awesome to see him move and see all these kids who are on fire for him.
So why FCA? If it wasn't FCA, it would have been something else.
I don't know. FCA gave me kind of the umbrella. And I it's Fellowship of Christian Athletes, but I've always said Fellowship of Christian Anybody's.
I remember that was a big concern.
If you are breathing, come on.
That was a big concern of the youth ministers and some of the pastors here in town, that whenever FCA started, that it would alienate some of the others. Now, we've had FCA around for a while, but it kind of lays dormant and,
Sure.
But there was a big concern that a lot of these Christians aren't athletes.
Right.
And would they be left behind? And I remember a couple of times going in the halls, and as you're rallying people and you're telling them, you don't have to be an athlete.
Yeah.
Just come. There's free food. We love you. Just get on in here. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah. If you're breathing, come on. Let's go.
If you're breathing it. So is that your take on life?
Yes. Absolutely. Love of Christ to anybody. It is.
If you have a pulse.
If you have a pulse.
Get in here.
God's not done with you yet.
Oh, my goodness.
He is not done. So, come in.
So good.
Come in.
Where did he teach you that?
I don't know. I think it's just life experience. If I really sat here and shared my whole testimony, your mouth would probably be open like, whoa. And he's not done with me. He's growing me.
Well, did he show you? I mean, we all have our moments, and you don't have to go here with it, but we all have our moments where we go, that's too far, and yet he loves us anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that stands out in your mind, in your story, somebody else's story, where you saw it and you go, he's just that good? Because something has shaped you to where there is a relentless optimism that if you just get in his presence and figure out whose you are,
Mm-hmm.
who he says that you are,
Mm-hmm.
the whole game's going to change.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
I think he's been laying the groundwork my whole life.
Yeah.
I think early on there was abuse. And then there was some health issues. Then there was the infertility. Then my mom. Russ and I have been through a copious amounts of loss and death and grief. And he's pulled me out of the darkness so many times I can't even count. And if I can do that for a kid, then man, I mean, that's salvation for them. You know, it's building his kingdom. And so that's just important. Just to continue to speak life and say, hey, this is what I've walked through. You're going to get through it too because he loves you that much. You know, he's got a purpose and he's got an assignment for you. And whatever that may be, live it out. You know, seek him in all things. You're going to sometimes fall off the wagon. You're going to stray. You're going to make decisions that aren't, you know, smart, but he's going to be there relentlessly chasing after you, after your heart, your soul. And so I'm thankful that he has given me that relentless spirit, you know, fiery, general, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But that's important to me, to fight for those kids. Because sometimes, man, they don't have anybody fighting for them, you know? And so...
No, I don't know. I don't think, I wouldn't say most people. I don't think people know. If you grew up in the environment that I grew up in, I lived in a very sheltered, parents love you, and they're not together, and they got their issues, and I've got my own stuff I got to deal with, but there were people who were there for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so to come across later on in life, in ministry, and find out that kids don't have somebody in their corner who is there for them is mind-blowing. And it encourages me that God has placed these generals, these strike force people in the path of these kiddos to encourage them and be there for them. To me, just another statement, another testimony of the goodness of our God, because it's like when their own families are so caught up or hurt or wounded or in their own stuff that they can't pay attention to, you know, and see there's a coach there with her hair on fire and a megaphone letting them know that they are loved, that they have a place. So if I were to ask you for your favorite story, or maybe just one that comes to mind over all the years of FCA and coaching of an athlete or a student who went from maybe like a rags to riches type thing, what's one of your favorite transformations where they didn't know whose they were, they didn't know God at all, and then you got to watch them, maybe it wasn't you, but you got to watch them progress through utter darkness and to knowing who they are in Christ and just launching?
First one comes to mind is Gabby Lazarine. She she probably did more towel pushes for me than maybe anybody else.
What's a towel push? I assume it's a push-up?
No, it's where you take a towel on the floor and you put your hands on it, and then you have to push it the length of the gym floor and back.
Ooh.
Usually because you've made some type of poor decision.
So she made lots of them.
She did, but man, I love that girl. Home life was not great. We spent a lot of time in deep talk, just discussions. She's had a hard life and she's struggled. But she's turning a corner, you know, and I've seen that. I've got to watch it. And then, you know, sometimes she might fall off again, but she keeps fighting. She's resilient and she's going to figure it out, you know, that he's had her this whole time in his hands. And she's a mom now. And so just watching her with her kiddo, has just kind of been beautiful to watch, even though she still struggles. And she'll give me a shout out every now and then, you know, thank you. I'll always love you. You may have made me do all this stuff, all the hard conversations and all the punishments, but you know, she comes to mind, off the top of my head.
What's that like?
Sometimes it's the nudge you need, because sometimes when you pour so much into others, the question is who's pouring into you, you know? And so that does, you know, when my kids send me a text or they invite me to a wedding or, you know, just a, hey, thank you. just that they know that they're loved. I had, when we left Stephenville, when I was coaching at Godly, I had 2 players from Stephenville come in to watch our game. It's like, wow. Okay, God, I see you. You know, probably right now, the thing most dear to my heart is I have a little girl that has asked for me to baptize her in August. And I cried immediately. I'm like, Russ, I'm not qualified to do that. I don't even know what to do. I text Pastor Ed. I was like, hey, Pastor Ed, like, this person wants me to baptize them. You know, what do I do? What if I drop her?
Did he give you the pastor joke?
No, he didn't. He was actually very kind and said, okay, go through these scriptures and, you know, and this is what I say. And I'm like, okay. But that's the highest honor I could ever dream about. And it's not a kiddo, like, she's not even on my team. Like, she doesn't even play basketball or softball. You know, she's a kiddo who we've walked it out in FCA and class. And so, yeah, it's the beautiful part of it. You know?
That is so cool.
It is so cool. Yeah.
What is next for how you see the future? How are you going to serve the Lord in this ministry that He's called you to?
I don't know. You know, the here I am, send me just comes to mind all the time. What do you have next for me? What do you want me to do? I would love to go do mission stuff. You know, go overseas, or I don't know. Or just give. But we'll see what He has in store. Keep loving on kids. You know? But
wherever you may be, hey?
Whatever. Yeah. I mean, when I get into the car every day, you know, I know Pastor Ed is, today I need you, Lord. And that's kind of that same thing that I have, you know, God, here I am. Use me. Use me. How do you want me to serve today? Where do you want me to be? Who do I need to speak life into? And it's listening to those nudges throughout the day. Like, if you and I were to work together, and man, He just puts people on my heart. Like, if He kept putting you on my heart, I'm going to you and I'm going to say, can I pray for you? And I may not even know you. You know, it's just one of those things. And I'm like, oh, really? You know, I don't really have that relationship with Him. And yes, sir, I'll do it. You know, you're my Father. And for whatever reason, that person needs to be prayed over. So, I don't know, just be obedient to Him. Send me. Yeah.
What would be the wisdom that you would whisper over your shoulder if you passed a young lady who had the same heart cry of, here I am, Lord, send me? How would you say, hey, listen, it's worth the journey, and whenever He tells you to do this, double down?
Mm-hmm.
You gave us a couple nuggets, but what comes to your mind?
To be resilient. When you're following Christ, there is heartbreak. I mean, there's people you love, there's things that happen, there's suffering, there's tough times. And to lean on Him, hit your knees, lean on Him in all things, be obedient. And just, one of the be still and know, you know, really just resonates. I know when, one of the harder times in my life when I was taking care of my mom, Coach Dacus, man, love that guy. We shared a classroom. And he kind of knew what I was walking through, you know, taking care of my mom, coaching, being a mom, myself, you know, being a wife, all the things. And he would just leave that on my desk on a sticky note. Be still and know. And at first I was like, you know, I didn't really get the profoundness of it. And then I was like, okay, you know, it just really hit. And I'm like, man, for him to speak that into me, time and time again, just, I don't know. It just meant so much to me that he did that. And so that's what I would kind of whisper to her is, hey, love Him, chase Him, and be still, and let Him just speak to you and answer the nudges. Yeah. That's
amazing. I was out with a common friend of ours, Jake, and we'd been given a word. So, you know, whenever the Lord gives you something, you're like, you want to see it.
Yeah.
You want to see it come to fruition. And so we were walking around the courthouse, kind of the square area, because that's where the word kind of pertained to it. So we're knocking on every door. We're talking to everybody. We're uncovering every stone. We're going to find what we're supposed to be doing there, and it's just nothing. Brick wall after brick wall after brick wall, dead end. And we sit down on one of the park benches, and we're just sitting there, and we're praying. It's like, what are we supposed to do? You said it's kind of one of those like life junctures. You called us to this. This was your idea, and now we're just hitting roadblock after roadblock, and this isn't fun anymore. Like this is just, it's beyond embarrassing. This is painful. And Jake said, he turns around and he looks, and have you noticed that in our courthouse park benches, they have scripture on the back of them, and it's be still and know.
Be still and know.
And I gotta admit, I resonated with that story. In the beginning, I didn't understand the profoundness of it. I was still a bit heated with the Almighty for having us walk around multiple days asking for an open door, trying to figure out what he was talking about. But the longer we sat there,
the more it resonated, the more you got
the more profound that truth really is. So I hope the young lady who is getting ready to pour her life out a ransom for many fully grasps that nugget.
Yeah.
Be still and know.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you one more question. You seem to know who you are. And if I could ask for a bit of a declaration, has the Lord said anything over you that would give you like rails to run on? Like you are called to this people. You are this, I love you. You are this type of girl. Has he said anything specific?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I feel like in different times in my life, there's been different calls, you know. And right now I just feel him saying consistency. Like keep pouring in. Don't grow weary. I think the longer you're in the educational system and the teaching and the coaching, burnout is a true thing. You know, that's probably an understatement. But I just feel like he keeps saying to continue, press on, keep pouring into people, keep loving kids. Cause I'm like, okay, God, retirement, is it close? Is it, not yet. And so, for me, I think that's what I'm looking for, is just to keep doing what I'm doing until he tells me to go somewhere else. But, if anything that comes from this possibly is just to any teachers or coaches that are listening out there. It's tough. It's you're serving, you're loving, you're pouring in. And sometimes you're met with, politics, parents, and you can certainly question why am I doing this? I can't do this anymore. It's too much. It's too hard. But these kids need you. There's a kingdom that needs to be built. And so keep pressing in, keep being consistent, keep loving on them. Cause you give up time with your family. But you're also being a role model for your kids that you raise. Like, I think our daughter had growth from watching us pour into, she had all these brothers and sisters, right? So I think she's just learned how to serve and how to love and, unconditionally. So if they're out there listening, just keep doing what you're doing, even when it gets hard, and hit your knees and pray. Pray for those kids. Pray for those parents.
And pray for those coaches.
Pray for those coaches, yeah. And if you've got a good coach in your life, man, tell them. Sometimes it's always the squeaky wheel that we hear, but we do treasure somebody that comes alongside and says, can I pray for you? Or can I buy you a Coke? Or just a thank you? Yeah. That's important in our line of work. It's important. So.
Well, General Mays?
Yes. Sorry.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Having me.
I have a father-in-law and mentor in the faith who, when he was at a conference one time, he was praying, and it was kind of a worship time, and he was just really in the zone with the Lord, and he kind of had some imagery come to mind, and he could see this thing, this holy place that he felt like God was calling him towards, but he didn't know that he could make it there. And the guy came up behind him, the guy who was speaking at the conference came up behind him, and he didn't know what he was seeing or what was going on. And he came up behind him and he said, "Press on, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Press on."
Yeah.
I feel like I'm supposed to come up behind you, so to
Mhm.
speak, and say, "Press on, sister.
Thank you.
Press on." General Mays, thank you for all that you have done, all that you are doing, and all that God will be doing through you in the future. You are incredible.
Thank you.
You are a blessing to this world and a light.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.